Trading period 1. You should only use this video after completing the introduction video to the stocks and shocks game. Okay, we've had an economic downturn. The global markets have become scared given the news that growth in major economies in the world has started to slow down. China has seen its growth halve to 7%, and the average EU growth is just 0.3%. This means that businesses are starting to cut back on the amount of items they produce, thus meaning that they need less raw materials. As a result, investors are now becoming more worried that consumers may start to cut back as they start to fear for their job and don't feel as confident in the market. This, of course, could impact on overall profitability, and this is one of the fears the shareholders have in general of the markets. So as you can see, this is how the economic downturn has affected the bee market. So as you can see, the new share price is shown on the screen. What you should do now is try to recalculate your value of your portfolio. Before we do that, we'll go through an example.
So this is the example we first looked at, and here we can see how this economic downturn has impacted on my investments. You can see the new share price and how much my portfolio is now worth. You can see it's now worth only 1,590 pennies. So the way we work this out is just like before. You've got the share price, which is 150, multiplied by the number of shares you've got. So for BP, 150 multiplied by 4, a total investment of 600. So now you need to find the new value of your portfolio.
So you may want to pause this video now, using the bee market on screen, while you recalculate the value of your portfolio. You probably will expect to see the value of your £20 initial investment fall, unless you've been smart and saved the money in the bank. Pause the video now. Okay, you may actually wish to sell some of your shares and turn the shares back into cash. If you wish to do this, then you simply need to multiply the number of shares that you have in the company or you wish to sell by the current share price. Once you return this money back into cash, you're free to reinvest this money into buying more shares. Remember though, that you can only invest in a maximum of 5 companies. Mr. Harbour is now going to show you an example of how he has sold his shares.
So the company BeePhone, I originally had 2 shares owned in this company. Now the value of these shares were at 45 pence each. So 45 pence times the number of shares that I owned, a total amount 90 pence returned back into my cash. With this 90 pence, I am now free to do what I want with it and reinvest that in another company, up to a maximum of 5 obviously, or buy more shares in a company I've already got shares into.
There you can see the bee market. What we advise you do is pause the video now and allow your students to sell any shares using the current share price. Remember to multiply the number of shares that you want to sell by the share price, and then you can use this cash to reinvest in any shares in the future. You may wish to purchase some shares. You can use the cash that you just made from selling shares or any cash you had in the bank to buy more shares. These could be shares in a new company, or these could be additional shares in a company that you already own. Remember though, you're only allowed to have shares in a maximum of 5 companies. You also need to make sure that you record your share purchase in the share purchase section of the form that you've got in your student pack. Here's an example that Mr. Hardman will take you through.
So I decided to go for a new investment in BeeTree. Now at the moment, BeeTree's share price was just 10 pence. So for this value, I thought I would buy 9 of these shares using that money I had back, and I have a new total investment of 90 pence. So we can see share price was 10. The number of shares I've purchased is 9, which is 90 pence. My remaining cash is now 0, and my total invested for this new investment was 90 pence.
So as you can see there, Mr. Hardman chose to spend all of his cash in buying those B-Tree shares. What we advise you do now is pause the video now and use the current share prices in the B market to purchase any new shares you wish to do so. Remember, it can only be a maximum of 5 companies, and you need to ensure that you record your share purchases in your student share pack. Pause the video now. So what have we learnt this session? Well, we've learnt this session the impact that external economic growth can have on the stock market. We looked at an economic downturn, and as a result of an economic downturn, we saw a reduction in demand for products and services. Because we saw a reduction in demand for products and services, we started to see an increased level of fear and uncertainty. And that was with consumers and how it knocked on effect with the actual share of investors. And of course, then we got to see concerns grow about organisations and what they'll do in the future. What profit will they make? Will they have to cut their selling price to make smaller profit margins? And of course, what impact will that have on the dividends and the returns that the shareholders will get for each share that they own in each company?